Victor Wembanyama and Rudy Gobert are teammates on the French national team. Gobert has publicly called Wemby his little brother. They share a locker room, they share a flag, they share a history. Starting this week, they are going to spend 2 weeks trying to end each other's season. And what Gobert just told reporters about guarding Wembanyama, we'll get to that, should have every Spurs fan paying close attention and every Wolves fan genuinely worried. Stick around for the series prediction at the end. But first, let's break down how both teams got here, because the road each franchise took to this matchup tells you almost everything about how this series is going to play out. What the Timberwolves just did to the Denver Nuggets is going to be talked about for a long time. They closed out Game 6 without Anthony Edwards, without Dante DiVincenzo, without Iyeva Dumu, who had been electric off the bench before a calf strain knocked him out.
We're excited tonight to get a couple guys that we think can really help our team now and also into the future. As you can see, we had a type. We added a couple of big bodies, physical, athletic, different profiles, a little bit, one being younger with, a huge upside, and obviously one being, a little bit older we've seen develop. We also think with really good upside, so we're excited to add both young men to the program and continue to build from here.
Kyle Anderson was ruled out before tip-off. Naz Reid was playing through a bad shoulder and ankle. Bones Highland was banged up too. 8-man rotation, 2 of them hurt. Closeout game on the road, final score 110-98. Pack it up, Denver. This was supposed to be the Nuggets' get-right game. Come home, force a Game 7, play in front of your crowd. Instead, a short-handed Timberwolves team walked into that building and ended their season. The story of Game 6 was Jaden McDaniels and Terrence Shannon Jr. McDaniels locked down Jamal Murray while putting up 32 points and 10 rebounds of his own. Shannon Jr., thrust into the starting lineup, went for 24 points and 6 rebounds, attacking the rim relentlessly, going straight at Murray over and over, wearing him down defensively so he had nothing left on the other end. But the bigger truth is what was consistent across the entire series. Minnesota just played harder. Murray shot 35% from the field for the series. Denver's offense, the team that led the NBA in offensive rating during the regular season at over 122 points per 100 possessions, failed to crack 100 points in 3 of the 6 games. That is what Jaden McDaniels does to Murray. That is what Rudy Gobert does to Jokic, holding him under 37% effective field goal percentage in one-on-one matchups, the worst mark Jokic has faced against any single defender in a playoff series. And before we move on, can we finally put the Gobert is a playoff liability narrative to rest? People love citing one step back from a conference finals. They conveniently forget that Minnesota dominated his minutes that entire postseason and collapsed when he sat. Across his 4 playoff runs with the Wolves, Minnesota is nearly +8 per 100 possessions with him on the floor. He just ran a defensive masterclass against the best offensive center in the league. That take is over. The Wolves drifted through stretches of the regular season, looking disengaged, like they had another gear they weren't bothering to find. The promise was always, wait until the playoffs. Well, the playoffs arrived, and the team that looked disconnected in February is now the most locked-in group in the Western Conference. The reality check, though, is brutal. DiVincenzo is done for the year. Edwards is unlikely to be available for Game 1. And even when he returns, you have to wonder what version you're. For Spurs fans, this moment represents the end of 9 years in the desert. No playoff series win since 2017. Years of rebuilding, years of lottery picks, years of believing the vision would eventually become real. It's real now. When this season tipped off, the expectations were measured. This was supposed to be a stepping stone, a glimpse of what the future could look like, not the full arrival. Then they went out and finished off Portland in 5 games, 114-95 in the clincher, and the most revealing detail from that close-out night was this. Wembanyama took the 7th most shots on his own team. Let that land for a second. The generational talent, the franchise centerpiece, the reason everyone is watching, and he wasn't even their primary scorer that night. That should terrify the rest of the West. This Spurs team is not a one-man show. They have a system. They have multiple creators who can hurt you on any given night. They have answers when teams take something away. Whatever doubts remained about whether this group could hit a playoff wall, gone. Whatever questions lingered about needing another star next to Wemby, irrelevant. This team is the answer, built through patience rather than panic. De'Aaron Fox has been everything they needed running point, turning in dominant playoff stretches that reminded everyone why he was an all-star before the trade. Stephon Castle has become a nightly stabilizer, the kind of two-way guard who quietly wears teams down across an entire series. Dylan Harper is emerging faster than anyone expected, playing with a composure that looks nothing like a rookie still adjusting to NBA speed. And behind all of it, Wembanyama warps the floor on both ends simultaneously. His 13 blocks across the final 2 games against Portland were the exclamation point. But the real damage is the gravity he creates just by standing in the right spot. He shrinks driving lanes. He erases space. Every cut and every screen bends around where he is. The Spurs got their first playoff series win in 9 years. The rebuild worked. The vision was right. But they didn't come this far just to prove a point. There is a layer of history baked into this matchup that gives it a feel almost like a sports movie. Rudy Gobert, one of the defining defensive centers of the modern era, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, the standard for elite rim protection over the last decade. Victor Wembanyama, the new French standard, 22 years old, already rewriting what a big man can look like in this league. It is the most meaningful French-on-French playoff matchup since the Tony Parker era ended in San Antonio. Nobody on Minnesota seems more locked in than Gobert himself. After his 10-point, 13-rebound, 8-assist closeout performance in Game 6, he was asked about facing the Spurs. And his response was exactly what you'd expect from a competitor who has seen everything this league has to offer. For San Antonio, the formula is clear. Control the terms of play early, push the pace, get out in transition before Minnesota's defense gets organized. Use Wembanyama as a perimeter threat to drag Gobert away from the paint and open driving lanes for Fox, Castle and Harper. Turn every Wolves mistake into a run-out opportunity. The worst thing the Spurs can do is allow this to become a slow, grinding half-court battle where Minnesota's physicality takes over. That is exactly the kind of series the Wolves want. San Antonio has to prevent it. The concern for the Spurs is offensive rhythm. There will be moments in this series where possessions stall, spacing tightens, easy looks disappear, and the offense gets stuck. That happened at times against Portland. Portland didn't have the defensive weaponry to punish those stretches. Minnesota absolutely does. If the Spurs go dead offensively for a half, the Wolves are capable of stealing a game. For Minnesota, the path is narrower, but it exists. They need Edwards back at something close to full strength. His two-way presence changes the entire tone of the matchup. McDaniels needs to make Fox and Castle uncomfortable on every single touch the way he made Murray uncomfortable all series. Julius Randle likely needs to give them 20-plus points a night to keep the offense functional with the backcourt depleted. Their best chance is turning this into exactly the kind of rock fight San Antonio wants to avoid. Slow it down. Make it physical. Use Gobert and the frontcourt to make every possession a war. Minnesota can steal games. They just proved they can close out a team on the road while missing half their roster. The problem is the backcourt situation. Edwards and DiVincenzo both sidelined. That is not a hole you can scheme your way out of over a full 7-game series, no matter how much fight you have. Minnesota is dangerous. Nobody should pretend otherwise. They just knocked out a team most people had picked to come out of the West. Their defense is real. Their toughness is real. The playoff experience they have accumulated over the last 3 postseasons is real currency, and it matters in a series that goes deep. But San Antonio feels more complete. Wembanyama controls both ends of the floor. Fox has already proven he can produce in high-leverage playoff moments. Castle and Harper bring a level of guard pressure that Minnesota's depleted backcourt is not equipped to absorb over 7 games. And when the Spurs are functioning, when the pace is right, the spacing is clean, and everyone is attacking from different angles, they overwhelm you in ways that are very hard to recover from. Minnesota might steal one in San Antonio. If Edwards comes back healthy and